Decomposing the spatial and temporal effects of climate and habitat on a hazel grouse population in northeastern Chinese mountains. Welcome to Journal Club. The latest academic research, explained in plain English. Today we're looking at this paper from MDPI's Journal of Animals. It's authored by Singh, et al., from Northeast Forestry University in China, and is published open access under a CC BY license. Let's start by translating the title into more accessible language. When you read this title, you can understand it to mean in very simple terms that this paper studies how the environment and habitat affect a type of bird called hazel grouse in northeast China. Let's expand on that a little. The research paper aims to explore how different things, like the weather and the environment, affect a certain type of bird called a hazel grouse in the mountains of northeastern China. The scientists in the study wanted to understand which factors had the biggest impact on how many hazel grouse there were in a certain area, and how those factors changed over time. They broke down the different effects into two main categories: space, meaning the physical area where the birds live, and time, meaning how things change over different seasons and years. By understanding how all these different factors affect the birds, the scientists can help protect hazel grouse populations in the future. Now we understand the title, which is a good start, but before we can break down the full paper, we'll need to catch up on some terminology, jargon, background information and context. Specifically, there are some key concepts you'll need to be familiar with. Let's define them now. Human disturbance, the impact of human activities, such as logging or construction, on natural habitats and ecosystems. Infrared camera traps, devices used to capture images of animals without disturbing their natural behavior. Population dynamics, the changes in size and structure of a population over time. Environmental variables, factors in the environment that can affect the survival and distribution of a species. Topography, the physical features of a landscape, such as elevation or slope. Vegetation types, the different types of plants found in a particular area or habitat. Deciduous forest, a type of forest characterized by trees that lose their leaves seasonally. Oak forest, a type of forest dominated by oak trees. Now that we understand the title and key concepts, we're ready to dive in and break down this paper. In this presentation, we're going to attempt to answer 5 questions. 1. What were the researchers trying to figure out? Or more specifically, what was their hypothesis? 2. How did they conduct their experiment? That is, how did they test their hypothesis? 3. What were the results of the experiment? 4. What conclusions did the authors draw from those results? And lastly, 5. Why does this research matter? Why should you care? 1. What were the researchers trying to figure out? The researchers hypothesized that habitat, climate, and human disturbance all have significant effects on the distribution of the hazel grouse population in northeastern Chinese mountains. 2. How did they conduct their experiment? The researchers installed infrared camera traps in a grid of 2 km by 2 km squares in the Northeast China Tiger and Leopard National Park to collect data on the presence of hazel grouse and other birds in the area. They extracted and processed data on the location, time, species, and number of valid photos of the animals captured by the cameras. They selected 16 environmental variables, including topography, vegetation, human disturbances, and climate, and classified them according to season. They used SPSS and our software to analyze the data, performing the Shapiro-Wilk and Mann-Whitney tests to check the sample's normal distribution and explore differences between presence and absence recordings in each season. They also used the Kruskal-Wallis test with Bonferroni correction and the Mann-Whitney test to explore whether topography, vegetation, and human disturbances had significant differences between presence recordings from different seasons. 3. What were the results? The researchers found that the habitat preference of the hazel grouse in northeastern Chinese mountains was mainly in deciduous forest, oak forest, mixed forest, and Korean fir forest. Additionally, in the summer season, presence recordings of the hazel grouse had significantly higher annual mean temperatures and significantly smaller annual temperature ranges compared to absence recordings. The distance to paved roads in summer was also significantly lower for presence recordings. Finally, the distance to unpaved roads in spring and summer were significantly lower for all presence recordings than in autumn. 4. What conclusions did the authors draw from their results? The study found that temperature and human disturbance had an impact on the distribution of hazel grouse in the Northeast China Tiger and Leopard National Park, while topography and vegetation did not. Roads and temperature were particularly influential in the summer, and protective measures should be taken near paved roads to alert people of the presence of grouse. Access to the mountains also needs to be limited in the autumn. Understanding the habitat and climate requirements of endangered species is crucial for conservation, and the study highlights the need for greater knowledge in this area. 5. Why does this research matter? This research paper highlights the importance of understanding the effects of habitat, climate, and human disturbance on threatened wildlife species, specifically the hazel grouse in northeastern China. The findings of the study demonstrate that temperature and human disturbance significantly impact the distribution of hazel grouse in the region, particularly near paved roads in the summer and in the autumn when access to the mountains should be limited. The research provides valuable ecological information to guide habitat management efforts and conservation strategies for the hazel grouse in national parks, and underscores the importance of understanding habitat and climate requirements for endangered species to prevent extinction. We hope you've enjoyed this Journal Club presentation of Decomposing the Spatial and Temporal Effects of Climate and Habitat on a Hazel Grouse Population in Northeastern Chinese Mountains. If you'd like to read the full paper yourself, which we encourage you to do, you can find it at DOI 10.3390/ANI 13122025.